This is one.
Be right back. I'm not sure what's going on with my camera right now, but
Audio Renaissance presents Dune by Frank Herbert.
hey,
Read for you
Christopher,
by
how you
Simon
doing?
Vance,
Hope you're
with John
doing well.
Alleyne,
Give me
Scott
1
Brick,
second.
Kent Broadhurst, Alan Burrows, Paula Cassidy, Jason Culp, David R. Gordon, Jamie Heinlein, Byron Jennings, Patricia Kilgariff, Ileana Kadushin, Ewan Morton, Scott Sowers, and Oliver Wyman. Book 1. Dune.
A beginning is the time for taking the most delicate care that the balances are correct. This every sister of the Bene Gesserit knows. To begin your study of the life of Muad'Dib, then, take care that you first place him in his time, born in the 57th year of the Padishah Emperor Shaddam IV. And take the most special care that you locate Muad'Dib in his place, the planet Arrakis. Do not be deceived by the fact that he was born on Caladan and lived his first 15 years there. Arrakis, the planet known as Dune, is forever his place. From Manual of Muad'Dib
I'm
by
not
the
sure what's going
Princess
on with my
Irulan.
camera.
In the week before their departure to Arrakis, when all the final scurrying about had reached a nearly unbearable frenzy, an old crone came to visit the mother of the boy, Paul. It was a warm night at Castle Caladan, and the ancient pile of stone that had served the Atreides family as home for 26 generations bore that cooled sweat feeling it acquired before a change in the weather. The old woman was let in by the side door, down the vaulted passage by Paul's room, and she was allowed a moment to peer in at him where he lay in his bed. By the half-light of a dispenser lamp, dimmed and hanging near the floor, the awakened boy could see a bulky female shape at his door, standing one step ahead of his mother. The old woman was a witch shadow, hair like matted spiderwebs hooded around darkness of features, eyes like glittering jewels.
Salut Chris, j'espère que tu vas bien.
Is he not small for his age, Jessica?
The Atreides are known to start late getting their growth, Your Reverence.
So I've heard. Yet he's already 15.
Yes, Your Reverence.
He's awake and listening to us. Sly little rascal. But royalty has need of slyness. And if he's really the Kwisatz Haderach, well...
Within the shadows of his bed, Paul held his eyes open to mere slits. Two bird-bright ovals in
Hey,
the eyes of
Fire,
the
how
old
you
woman
doing?
seemed to expand
Good to see
and
ya.
glow as they stared into his.
Sleep well, you slut.
Let me share this out real quick.
Tomorrow you'll need all your faculties to meet my Gom Jabbar.
And she was gone, pushing his mother out, closing the door with a solid thump.
How you doing, Fire?
Paul lay awake, wondering, what's a Gom Jabbar? In all the upset during this time of change, the old woman was the strangest thing he had seen. Your Reverence. And the way she called his mother Jessica, like a common serving wench, instead of what she was. A Bene Gesserit lady, a duke's concubine and mother of the ducal heir. Is a Gom Jabbar something of Arrakis I must know before we go there? He wondered. He mouthed her strange words. Gom Jabbar. Kwisatz Haderach. There had been so many things to learn.
I'm not going to.
Arrakis would be a place so different from Caladan that Paul's mind whirled with the new knowledge. Arrakis. Dune. Desert planet. Thufir Hawat, his father's master of assassins, had explained it. Their mortal enemies, the Harkonnens, had been on Arrakis 80 years, holding the planet in quasi-fief under a Chosen company contract to mine the geriatric spice melange. Now the Harkonnens were leaving, to be replaced by the House of Atreides in fief complete, an apparent victory for the Duke later. Yet, Howard had said, this appearance contained the deadliest peril, for the Duke later was popular among the great houses of the Landsraad. A popular man arouses the jealousy of the powerful, Howard had said. Arrakis, Dune, desert planet. Paul fell asleep to dream of an Arakeen carol. Silent people all around him moving in the dim light of glow globes. It was solemn there, like a cathedral, as he listened to a faint sound, the drip, drip, drip of water. Even while he remained in the dream, Paul knew he would remember it upon awakening. He always remembered the dreams that were predictions. The dream faded. Paul awoke to feel himself in the warmth of his bed, thinking. This world of Castle Caladan, without play or companions his own age, perhaps did not deserve sadness in farewell. Dr. Yue, his teacher, had hinted that the Falfra Luce's class system was not rigidly guarded on Arrakis. The planet sheltered people who lived at the desert edge without Kaid or Basha to command them. Will-o'-the-Sand people called Fremen, marked down on no census of the Imperial Regent. Arrakis, Dune, desert planet. Paul sensed his own tensions and decided to practice one of the mind-body lessons his mother had taught him. 3 quick breaths triggered the responses. He fell into the floating awareness, focusing the consciousness, aortal dilation, avoiding the unfocused mechanism of consciousness, to be conscious by choice, blood enriched and swift, flooding the overload regions. One does not obtain food, safety, freedom by instinct alone. Animal consciousness does not extend beyond the given moment, nor into the idea that its victims may become extinct. The animal destroys and does not produce. Animal pleasures remain close to sensation levels and avoid the perceptual. The human requires a ground grid through which to see his universe. Focused consciousness by choice. This forms your grid. Bodily integrity follows nerve, blood flow according to the deepest awareness of cell needs. All things, cells, beings are impermanent. Strive for flow permanence within. Over and over and over, within Paul's floating awareness, the lesson rolled. When dawn touched Paul's windowsill with yellow light, he sensed it through closed eyelids, opened them, hearing then the renewed bustle and hurry in the castle, seeing the familiar patterned beams of his bedroom ceiling. The hall door opened, and his mother peered in, hair like shaded bronze held with black ribbon at the crown, her oval face emotionless, and green eyes staring solemnly.
You're awake. Did you sleep well?
Yes. He studied the tallness of her, saw the hint of tension in her shoulders as she chose clothing for him from the closet racks. Another might have missed the tension, but she had trained him in the Bene Gesserit way, in the minutiae of observation. She turned, holding a semi-formal jacket for him. It carried the red Atreides hawk crest above the breast pocket.
Hurry and dress. Reverend Mother is waiting.
I dreamed of her once. Who is she?
She was my teacher at the Bene Gesserit school.
Spice must flow.
Now she's the Emperor's truth-sayer. And Paul, you must tell her about your dreams.
I will. Is she the reason we got Arrakis?
We did not get Arrakis.
Jessica flicked dust from a pair of trousers, hung them with the jacket on the dressing stand beside his bed.
Don't keep Reverend Mother waiting.
Paul sat up, hugged his knees.
What's a Gom Jabbar?
Again, the training she had given him exposed her almost invisible hesitation, a nervous betrayal he felt as fear. Jessica crossed to the window, flung wide the draperies, stared across the river orchards toward Mount Siobi.
You'll learn about the Gom Jabbar soon enough.
He heard the fear in her voice and wondered at it. Jessica spoke without turning.
Reverend Mother is waiting in my morning room. Please hurry.
The Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mohiam sat in the tapestried chair, watching mother and son approach. Windows on each side of her overlooked the curving southern bend of the river and the green farmlands of the Atreides family holding. But the Reverend Mother ignored the view. She was feeling her age this morning, more than a little petulant. She blamed it on space travel and association with that abominable spacing guild and its secretive ways. But here was a mission that required personal attention from a Bene Gesserit with the sight. Even the Parisha Emperor's truthsayer couldn't evade that responsibility when the duty call came. That Jessica, the Reverend Mother thought. If only she'd borne us a girl as she was ordered to do. Jessica stopped 3 paces from the chair and dropped a small curtsy, a gentle flick of left hand along the line of her skirt. Paul gave the short bow his dancing master had taught, the one used when in doubt of another's station. The nuances of Paul's greeting were not lost on the Reverend Mother.
He's a cautious one, Jessica.
Jessica's hand went to Paul's shoulder, tightened there. For a heartbeat, fear pulsed through her palm. Then she had herself under control.
Thus he has been taught, Your Reverence.
What does she fear? Paul wondered. The old woman studied Paul in one gestalten flicker. Face oval like Jessica's, but strong bones. Hair, the Duke's black but with brow line of the maternal grandfather who cannot be named, and that thin, disdainful nose, shape of directly staring green eyes, like the old Duke, the paternal grandfather who is dead. Now, there was a man who appreciated the power of bravura, even in death, the Reverend Mother thought.
Teaching is one thing. The basic ingredient is another. We shall see.
The old eyes darted a hard glance at Jessica.
Leave us. I enjoin you to practice the meditation of peace.
Jessica took her hand from Paul's shoulder.
Your Reverence,
Jessica, you know it must be done.
Paul looked up at his mother, puzzled. Jessica straightened.
Yes, of course.
Paul looked back at the Reverend Mother. Politeness and his mother's obvious awe of this old woman argued caution, yet he felt an angry apprehension at the fear he sensed radiating from his mother.
Paul, this test you're about to receive, it's important to me.
Test? He looked up at her.
Remember that you're a Duke's son.
Jessica whirled and strode from the room in a dry swishing of skirt. The door closed solidly behind her. Paul faced the old woman, holding anger in check.
Does one dismiss the Lady Jessica as though she were a serving wench?
A smile flicked the corners of the wrinkled old mouth.
The Lady Jessica was my serving wench, lad, for 14 years at school. And a good one, too. Now you come here.
The command whipped out at him. Paul found himself obeying before he could think about it. Using the voice on me, he thought. He stopped at her gesture, standing beside her knees.
See this?
From the folds of her gown, she lifted a green metal cube about 15 centimeters on a side. She turned it, and Paul saw that one side was open, black and oddly frightening. No light penetrated that open blackness.
Put your right hand in the box.
Fear shot through Paul. He started to back away.
Is this how you obey your mother?
He looked up into bird-bright eyes. Slowly, feeling the compulsions and unable to inhibit them, Paul put his hand into the box. He felt first a sense of cold as the blackness closed around his hand, then slick metal against his fingers, and a prickling as though his hand were asleep. A predatory look filled the old woman's features. She lifted her right hand away from the box and poised the hand close to the side of Paul's neck. He saw a glint of metal there and started to turn toward it.
Stop!
Using the voice again, he swung his attention back to her face.
I hold at your neck the Gondrabar. The Gondrabar, the high-handed enemy. It's a needle with a drop of poison on its tip. Aha, don't pull away, or you'll feel that poison.
Paul tried to swallow in a dry throat. He could not take his attention from the seamed old face, the glistening eyes, the pale gums around silvery metal teeth that flashed as she spoke.
A duke's son must know about poisons. It's the way of our times, eh? Musky to be poisoned in your drink. Hummus to be poisoned in your food. The quick ones and the slow ones and the ones in between. Here's a new one for you. The Bone Jabbar. It kills only animals.
Pride overcame Paul's fear.
You dare suggest a duke's son as an animal?
Let us say I suggest you may be human. Steady. I warn you not to try jerking away. I am old, but my hand can drive this needle into your neck before you escape me.
Who are you? How did you trick my mother into leaving me alone with you? Are you from the Harkonnens?
The Harkonnens? Bless us, no. Now be silent.
A dry finger touched his neck, and he stilled the involuntary urge to leap away.
Good. You passed the first test. Now here's the way of the rest of it. If you withdraw your hand from the box, you die. This is the only rule. Keep your hand in the box and live. Withdraw it and die.
If I call out, there'll be servants on you in seconds and you'll die.
Servants will not pass your mother, who stands guard outside that door. Depend on it. Your mother survived this test. Now it's your turn. Be honored. We seldom administer this to men, children.
Curiosity reduced Paul's fear to a manageable level. He heard truth in the old woman's voice, no denying it. If his mother stood guard out there, if this were truly a test, and whatever it was, he knew himself caught in it, trapped by that hand at his neck, the Gom Jabbar. He recalled the response from the litany against fear as his mother had taught him out of the Bene Gesserit rite. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. He felt calmness return.
Get on with it, old woman.
Old woman, you've courage, and that can't be denied. Well, we shall see, Sarah. You will feel pain in this hand within the box. Pain. But withdraw the hand, and I'll touch your neck with my Gom Jabbar. The death so swift it's like the fall of the headsman's axe. Withdraw your hand, and the Gom Jabbar takes you. Understand?
What's in the box?
Pain.
He felt increased tingling in his hand, pressed his lips tightly together. How could this be a test? He wondered. The tingling became an itch.
You've heard of animals chewing off a leg to escape a trap. There's an animal kind of trick. A human would remain in the trap, endure the pain, feigning death that he might kill the trapper and remove a threat to his kind.
The itch became the faintest burning.
Why are you doing this?
To determine if you're human. Be silent.
Paul clenched his left hand into a fist as the burning sensation increased in the other hand. It mounted slowly, heat upon heat, upon heat, upon heat. He felt the fingernails of his free hand biting the palm. He tried to flex the fingers of the burning hand, but couldn't move them.
It burns.
Silence.
Pain throbbed up his arm. Sweat stood out on his forehead. Every fiber cried out to withdraw the hand from that burning pit. But the Gom Jabbar. Without turning his head, he tried to move his eyes to see that terrible needle poised beside his neck. He sensed that he was breathing in gasps, tried to slow his breaths, and couldn't. Pain. His world emptied of everything except that hand immersed in agony, the ancient face inches away staring at him. His lips were so dry he had difficulty separating them. The burning. The burning.
Yeah, cheers.
He thought he could feel skin curling black on that agonized hand, the flesh crisping
Forgot
and
to
dropping
charge
away
this.
until only charred bones
I
remained.
got enough to do at least a dab.
It stopped. As though a switch had been turned off, the pain stopped. Paul felt his right arm trembling, felt sweat bathing his body.
Enough. Oh, my heart. No woman-child ever withstood that much. I must have wanted you to fail.
She leaned back, withdrawing the gom jabbar from the side of his neck.
Take your hand from the box, young human, and look at it.
He fought down an aching shiver, stared at the lightless void where his hand seemed to remain of its own volition. Memory of pain inhibited every movement. Reason told him he would withdraw a blackened stump from that box.
Do it.
He jerked his hand from the box, stared at it. Not a mark, no sign of agony on the flesh. He held up the hand, turned it, flexed the fingers.
Pain by nerve induction. Can't go around maiming potential humans. There are those who'd give a pretty for the secret of this box, though.
She slipped it into the folds of her gown.
But the pain.
Pain. A human can override any nerve in the body.
Paul felt his left hand aching, uncurled the clenched fingers, looked at 4 bloody marks where fingernails had bitten his palm. He dropped the hand, looked at the old woman.
You did that to my mother once.
Ever sift sand through a screen?
The tangential slash of her question shocked his mind into a higher awareness. Sand through a screen. He nodded.
We Bene Gesserit sift people to find the humans.
He lifted his right hand, willing the memory of the pain.
And that's all there is to it. Pain.
I observed you in pain, lad. Pain's merely the axis of the test. Your mother's told you about our ways of observing. I see the signs of her teaching in you. Our test is crisis and observation.
He heard the confirmation in her voice.
It's truth.
She stared at him. He said this. Could he be the one? Could he truly be the one? She extinguished the excitement, reminding herself, hope clouds observation.
You know when people believe what they say.
I know it.
The harmonics of ability confirmed by repeated tests were in his voice. She heard them.
Perhaps you are the Kwisatz Haderach. Sit down, little brother, here at my feet.
I prefer to stand.
Your mother sat at my feet once.
I'm not my mother.
You hate us a little, eh? Jessica!
The door flew open, and Jessica stood there staring hard-eyed into the room. Hardness melted from her as she saw Paul. She managed a faint smile.
Jessica, have you ever stopped hating me?
I both love and hate you. The hate, that's from pains I must never forget. The love, that's
Just the basic fact. You may come in now, but remain silent. Close that door, and mind it that no one interrupts us.
Jessica stepped into the room, closed the door, and stood with her back to it. My son lives, she thought. My son lives and is human. I knew he was, but he lives. Now I can go on living.
One more done.
The door felt hard and real against her back. Everything in the room was immediate and pressing against her senses. My son lives. Paul looked at his mother. She told the truth. He wanted to get away alone and think this experience through, but knew he could not leave until he was dismissed. The old woman had gained a power over him. They spoke truth. His mother had undergone this test. There must be a terrible purpose in it. The pain and fear had been terrible. He understood terrible purposes. They drove against all odds. They were their own necessity. Paul felt that he had been infected with terrible purpose. He did not know yet what the terrible purpose was.
Someday, lad, you too may have to stand outside a door like that. It takes a measure of doing.
Paul looked down at the hand that had known pain, then up to the Reverend Mother. The sound of her voice had contained a difference then from any other voice in his experience. The words were outlined in brilliance. There was an edge to them. He felt that any question he might ask her would bring an answer that could lift him out of his flesh world into something greater.
Why do you test for humans?
To set you free.
Free?
What if men turned their thinking over to machines in the hope that this would set them free? But that only permitted other men with machines to enslave them.
Thou shalt not make a machine in the likeness of a man's mind.
Right out of the Butlerian Jihad and the Orange Catholic Bible. But what the OC Bible should have said is, thou shalt not make a machine to copy a human. Have you studied the Mentat in your service?
I've studied with Thufir Howard.
The Great Revolt took away a crutch.
Hey, bro, come up.
It forced human minds to develop. Schools were started to train human talents.
Bene Gesserit schools.
We have two chief survivors of those ancient schools, the Bene Gesserit and the Spacing Guild. The Guild, so we think, emphasizes almost pure mathematics. Bene Gesserit performs another function.
Politics.
Cool, hard.
The old woman sent a hard glance at Jessica.
I've not told him, Your Reverence.
The Reverend Mother returned her attention to Paul.
You did that on remarkably few clues. Politics, indeed. The original Bene Gesserit school was directed by those who saw the need of a thread of continuity in human affairs. They saw there could be no such continuity without separating human stock from animal stock, for breeding purposes.
The old woman's words abruptly lost their special sharpness for Paul. He felt an offense against what his mother called his instinct for rightness. It wasn't that Reverend Mother lied to him. She obviously believed what she said. It was something deeper, something tied to his terrible purpose.
But my mother tells me many Bene Gesserit of the schools don't know their ancestry.
The genetic lines are always in our records. Your mother knows that either she's of Bene Gesserit descent or her stock was acceptable in itself.
Then why couldn't she know who her parents are?
Some do. Many don't. We might, for example, have wanted to breed her to a close relative, to set up a dominant in some genetic trait. We have many reasons.
Again, Paul felt the offense against rightness.
You take a lot on yourselves.
The Reverend Mother stared at him, wondering. Did I hear criticism in his voice?
We carry a heavy burden.
Paul felt himself coming more and more out of the shock of the test. He leveled a measuring stare at her.
You say maybe I'm the Kwisatz Haderach. What's that? A human Gomjabar?
Paul, you mustn't take that tone with...
I'll handle this, Jessica. Now, lad, do you know about the Truth-Sayer drug?
You take it to improve your ability to detect falsehood. My mother's told me.
Have you ever seen Truth Trance?
No.
The drug's dangerous, but it gives insight. When a truth-sayer's gifted by the drug, she can look many places in her memory, in her body's memory. We look down so many avenues of the past, but only feminine avenues. Yet there's a place where no truth-sayer can see. We are repelled by it, terrorized. It is said a man will come one day and find in the gift of the drug his inward eye. He will look where we cannot, into both feminine and masculine pasts.
You're Kwisatz Haderach.
Yes, the one who can be many places at once. The Kwisatz Haderach. Many men have tried the drug, so many, but none has succeeded.
They tried and failed. All of them.
Oh, no. They tried and died.
To attempt an understanding of Muad'Dib without understanding his mortal enemies, the Harkonnens, is to attempt seeing truth without knowing falsehood. It is the attempt to see the light without knowing darkness. It cannot be. From Manual of Muad'Dib by the Princess Irulan.
It was a relief globe of a world, partly in shadows, spinning under the impetus of a fat hand that glittered with rings. The globe sat on a free-form stand at one wall of a windowless room, whose other walls presented a patchwork of multicolored scrolls, film books, tapes, and reels. Light glowed in the room from golden balls hanging in mobile dispenser fields. An ellipsoid desk with a top of jade-pink petrified Elaka wood stood at the center of the room. Veriform dispenser chairs ringed it, 2 of them occupied. In one sat a dark-haired youth of about 16 years, round of face and with sullen eyes. The other held a slender, short man with effeminate face. Both youth and man stared at the globe, and the man half hidden in shadows, spinning it.
There it is, Piter. The biggest man-trap in all history. And the Duke's headed into its jaws. Is it not a magnificent thing that I, the Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, do?
Assuredly, Baron.
The fat hand descended onto the globe, stopped the spinning. Now all eyes in the room could focus on the motionless surface and see that it was the kind of globe made for wealthy collectors or planetary governors of the Empire. It had the stamp of imperial handicraft about it. Latitude and longitude lines were laid in with hair-fine platinum wire. The polar caps were insets of finest cloud milk diamonds. The fat hand moved, tracing details on the surface.
I invite you to observe. Observe closely, Piter. And you too, Fade Ralph, my darling. From 60 degrees north to 70 degrees south, these exquisite ripples. Their coloring, does it not remind you of sweet caramel? And nowhere do you see blue of lakes, or rivers, or sea, and these lovely polar caps so small. Could anyone mistake this place? Arrakis, truly unique. A superb setting for a unique victory.
And to think, Baron, the Padishah Emperor believes he's given the Duke your spice planet. How poignant.
That's a nonsensical statement. You say this to confuse young Fade Ralpha, but it is not necessary to confuse my nephew.
The sullen-faced youth stirred in his chair, smoothed a wrinkle in the black leotards he wore. He sat upright as a discreet tapping sounded at the door in the wall behind him. Piter unfolded from his chair, crossed to the door, cracked it wide enough to accept a message cylinder. He closed the door, unrolled the cylinder, and scanned it.
Well?
The fool answered us, Baron.
Whenever did an Atreides refuse the opportunity for a gesture? Well, what does he say?
He's most uncouth, Baron. Addresses you as Harkonnen. No sire et cher cousin, no title, nothing.
It's a good name. What does dear Leto say?
He says, your offer of a meeting is refused. I have oft-times met your treachery, and this all men know.
And?
He says, the art of Conley still has admirers in the Empire. He signs it Duke Leto of Arrakis. Of Arrakis. Oh my, this is almost too rich.
Be silent, Piter. Conley is it. Vendetta, eh? And he uses the nice old word so rich in tradition to be sure I know he means it.
You made the peace gesture. The forms have been obeyed.
For a mentat, you talk too much, Piter.
And he thought, I must do away with that one soon. He has almost outlived his usefulness. The Baron stared across the room at his mentat assassin, seeing the feature about him that most people noticed first. The eyes, the shaded slits of blue within blue, the eyes without any white in them at all. A grin flashed across Piter's face. It was like a mask grimace beneath those eyes like holes.
But Baron, never has revenge been more beautiful. It is to see a plan of the most exquisite treachery, to make Leto exchange Caladan for Dune, and without alternative because the Emperor orders it. How waggish of you.
You have a flux of the mouth, Piter.
But I am happy, my Baron, whereas you are touched by jealousy.
Piter,
Aha, Baron, is it not regrettable you were unable to devise this delicious scheme by yourself?
someday I will have you strangled, Piter.
Of a certainty, Baron. Enfant, but a kind act is never lost, eh?
Have you been chewing verite or samutza, Piter?
Truth without fear surprises the Baron.
Piter's face drew down into a caricature of a frowning mask.
Aha! But you see, Baron, I know as a mentat when you will send the executioner. You will hold back just so long as I am useful. To move sooner would be wasteful, and I'm yet of much use. I know what it is you learned from that lovely Dune planet. Waste not. True, Baron?
The Baron continued to stare at Piter. Fade Rautha squirmed in his chair. These wrangling fools, he thought. My uncle cannot talk to his mentat without arguing. Do they think I've nothing to do except listen to their arguments?
Fade, I told you to listen and learn when I invited you in here. Are you learning?
Yes, uncle.
Sometimes I wonder about Piter. I cause pain out of necessity, but I swear he takes a positive delight in it. For myself, I can feel pity toward the poor Duke Leto. Dr. Yui will move against him soon, and that'll be the end of all the Atreides. But surely Leto will know whose hand directed the pliant doctor. And knowing that will be a terrible thing.
Then why haven't you directed the doctor to slip a kinjal between his ribs quietly and efficiently? You talk of pity, but...
The Duke must know when I encompass his doom, and the other great houses must learn of it. The knowledge will give them pause. I'll gain a bit more room to maneuver. The necessity is obvious, but I don't have to like it.
Room to maneuver. Already you have the Emperor's eyes on you, Baron. You move too boldly. One day the Emperor will send a legion or two of his Sardaukar down here onto Gedi Prime, and that'll be an end to the Baron Vladimir Harkonnen.
You'd like to see that, wouldn't you, Piter? You'd enjoy seeing the core of Sardaukar pillaged through my cities and sacked this castle. You'd truly enjoy that.
Does the Baron need to ask?
You should have been a Bashar of the core. You're too interested in blood and pain. Perhaps I was too quick with my promise of the spoils of Arrakis.
Piter took 5 curiously mincing steps into the room, stopped directly behind Fade Rautha. There was a tight air of tension in the room, and the youth looked up at Piter with a worried frown.
Do not toy with Piter, Baron. You promised me the Lady Jessica. You promised her to me.
For what, Piter? For pain?
Piter stared at him, dragging out the silence. Fade Rautha moved his suspensor chair to one side.
Uncle, do I have to stay? You said you'd...
My darling Fade Rautha grows impatient. Patience, Fade. What of the Dukeling, the child Paul, my dear Piter?
The trap will bring him to you, Baron.
That's not my question. You'll recall that you predicted the Bene Gesserit witch would bear a daughter to the Duke. You were wrong, eh, Mentat?
I'm not often wrong, Baron. Give me that. I'm not often wrong. And you know yourself, these Bene Gesserit bear mostly daughters. Even the Emperor's consort had produced only females.
Uncle, you said there'd be something important here for me to...
Listen to my nephew. He aspires to rule my barony, yet he cannot rule himself.
The Baron stirred beside the globe. a shadow among shadows.
Well then, Fade Rautha Harkonnen, I summoned you here hoping to teach you a bit of wisdom. Have you observed our good Mentat? You should have learned something from this exchange.
But Uncle...
A most efficient Mentat, Piter, wouldn't you say, Fade?
Yes, but...
Ah, indeed, but he consumes too much spice, eats it like candy. Look at his eyes. He might have come directly from the Arakeen labor pool. Efficient, Piter, but he's...
Battery low. Battery 10%.
But he still can err.
Did you call me in here to impair my efficiency with criticism, Baron?
Impair your efficiency? You know me better, Piter. I wish only for my nephew to understand the limitations of a Mentat.
Are you already training my replacement?
Replace you? Why, Piter, where could I find another Mentat with your cunning and venom?
The same place you found me, Baron.
Perhaps I should at that. You do seem a bit unstable lately. And the spice you eat.
Are my pleasures too expensive, Baron? Do you object to them?
My dear Piter, your pleasures are what tie you to me. How could I object to that? I merely wish my nephew to observe this about you.
Then I'm on display. Shall I dance? Shall I perform my various functions for the eminent Fade Rautha?
Precisely. You are on display. Now be silent.
The Baron glanced at Fade Rautha, noting his nephew's lips, the full and pouting look of them, the Harkonnen genetic marker now twisted slightly in amusement.
This is a Mentat, Fade. It has been trained and conditioned to perform certain duties. The fact that it's encased in a human body, however, must not be overlooked, a serious drawback. But I sometimes think the ancients with their thinking machines had the right idea.
They were toys compared to me. You yourself, Baron, could outperform those machines.
Perhaps. Ah, well. Now, Piter, outline for my nephew the salient features of our campaign against the House of Atreides. Function as a Mentat for us, if you please.
Baron, I've warned you not to trust one so young with this information. My observations...
I'll be the judge of this. I give you an order, Mentat. Perform one of your various functions.
So be it.
Piter straightened, assuming an odd attitude of dignity, as though it were another mask, but this time clothing his entire body.
In a few days' standard, the entire household of the Duke Leto will embark on a spacing guild liner for Arrakis. The guild will deposit them at the city of Arakeen rather than at our city of Carthage. The Duke's Mentat, Thufir Hawat, will have concluded rightly that Arakeen is easier to defend.
Listen carefully, Fade. Observe the plans within plans within plans.
Fade Rautha nodded, thinking, this is more like it. The old monster is letting me in on secret things at last. He must really mean me to be his heir.
There are several tangential possibilities. I indicate that House Atreides will go to Arrakis. We must not, however, ignore the possibility the Duke has contracted with the Guild to remove him to a place of safety outside the system. Others, in like circumstances, have become renegade houses, taking family atomics and shields and fleeing beyond the Imperium.
The Duke's too proud a man for that.
It is a possibility. The ultimate effect for us would be the same, however.
No, it would not. I must have him dead and his line ended.
That's the high probability. There are certain preparations that indicate when a house is going renegade. The Duke appears to be doing none of these things.
So, get on with it, Piter.
At Arakeen, the Duke and his family will occupy the residency, lately the home of Count and Lady Fenring.
The ambassador to the smugglers.
Ambassador to what?
Your uncle makes a joke. He calls Count Fenring ambassador to the smugglers, indicating the Emperor's interest in smuggling operations on Arrakis.
Fade Rautha turned a puzzled stare on his uncle.
Why?
Don't be so dense, Fade. As long as the Guild remains effectively outside Imperial control, how could it be otherwise? How else could spies and assassins move about?
Feyd-Rautha's mouth made a soundless "oh."
We've arranged diversions at the residency. There'll be an attempt on the life of the Atreides heir, an attempt which could succeed.
Piter, you indicated that...
I indicated accidents can happen, and the attempt must appear valid.
Ah, but the lad has such a sweet young body. Of course, he's potentially more dangerous than the father. With that witch mother training him. Cursed woman. Well, please, continue, Piter.
Hawat will have divined that we have an agent planted on him. The obvious suspect is Dr. Yui, who is indeed our agent. But Hawat has investigated and found that our doctor is a Suk School graduate with Imperial conditioning, supposedly safe enough to minister even to the Emperor. Great store is set on Imperial conditioning. It's assumed that ultimate conditioning cannot be removed without killing the subject. However, as someone once observed, given the right lever, you can move a planet. We found the lever that moved the doctor. How?
Feyd-Rautha found this a fascinating subject. Everyone knew you couldn't subvert Imperial conditioning.
Another time. Continue, Piter.
In place of Yui, we'll drag a most interesting suspect across Hawat's path. The very audacity of this suspect will recommend her to Hawat's attention. Her?
The Lady Jessica herself.
Is it not sublime? Hawat's mind will be so filled with this prospect, it'll impair his function as a mentat. He may even try to kill her. But I don't think he'll be able to carry it off.
You don't want him to, huh?
Don't distract me. While Hawat's occupied with the Lady Jessica, we'll divert him further with uprisings in a few garrison towns and the like. These will be put down. The Duke must believe he's gaining a measure of security. Then, when the moment is ripe, we'll signal Yui and move in with our major force.
Go ahead. Tell him all of it.
We'll move in, strengthened by 2 legions of Sardaukar, disguised in Harkonnen livery.
Sardaukar. Feyd-Rautha focused his mind on the dread Imperial troops, the killers without mercy, the soldier fanatics of the Padishah Empire.
You see how I trust you, Feyd? No hint of this must ever reach another great house. Else the Landsraad might unite against the Imperial House, and there'd be chaos.
The main point is this. Since House Harkonnen is being used to do the Imperial dirty work, we've gained a true advantage. It's a dangerous advantage, to be sure, but if used cautiously, will bring House Harkonnen greater wealth than that of any other house in the Imperium.
You have no idea how much wealth is involved, Feyd. Not in your wildest imaginings. To begin, we'll have an irrevocable directorship in the Chom Company.
Feyd-Rautha nodded. Wealth was the thing. Chom was the key to wealth, each noble house dipping from the company's coffers whatever it could under the power of the directorships. Those Chom directorships, they were the real evidence of political power in the Imperium, passing with the shifts of voting strength within the Landsraad as it balanced itself against the Emperor and his supporters.
The Duke Leto may attempt to flee to the new Fremen scum along the desert's edge, or he may try to send his family into that imagined security. But that path is blocked by one of His Majesty's agents, the planetary ecologist. You may remember him, Kynes.
Feyd remembers him. Get on with it.
You do not drool very prettily, Baron.
Get on with it. I command you.
If matters go as planned, House Harkonnen will have a sub-fief on Arrakis within a standard year. Your uncle will have dispensation of that fief. His own personal agent will rule on Arrakis. More profits.
Indeed.
And the Baron thought, it's only just. We're the ones who tamed Arrakis, except for the few mongrel Fremen hiding in the skirts of the desert, and some tame smugglers bound to the planet almost as tightly as the native labor pool.
And the great houses will know that the Baron has destroyed the Atreides. They will know.
They will know.
Loveliest of all is that the Duke will know too. He knows now. He can already feel the trap.
It's true the Duke knows. He could not help but know. More's the pity.
The Baron moved out and away from the globe of Arrakis. As he emerged from the shadows, his figure took on dimension, grossly and immensely fat, and with subtle bulges beneath folds of his dark robes to reveal that all this fat was sustained partly by portable suspensors harnessed to his flesh. He might weigh 200 standard kilos in actuality, but his feet would carry no more than 50 of them.
I am hungry.
The Baron rubbed his protruding lips with a beringed hand, stared down at Feyd-Rautha through fat enfolded eyes.
Send for food, my darling. We will eat before we retire.
Thus spoke Saint Alia of the Night. The Reverend Mother must combine the seductive wiles of a courtesan with the untouchable majesty of a virgin goddess, holding these attributes in tension so long as the powers of her youth endure. For when youth and beauty have gone, she will find that the place between, once occupied by tension, has become a wellspring of cunning and resourcefulness. From Muad'Dib, Family Commentaries, by the Princess Irulan.
"Well, Jessica, what have you to say for yourself?" asked the Reverend Mother. It was near sunset at Castle Caladan on the day of Paul's ordeal. The two women were alone in Jessica's morning room, while Paul waited in the adjoining soundproofed meditation chamber. Jessica stood facing the south window. She saw, and yet did not see, the evening's banked colors across meadow and river. She heard, and yet did not hear the Reverend Mother's question. There had been another ordeal once, so many years ago. A skinny girl with hair the color of bronze, her body tortured by the winds of puberty, had entered the study of the Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mohayam, Proctor Superior of the Bene Gesserit School on Wallach 9. Jessica looked down at her right hand, flexed the fingers, remembering the pain, the terror, the anger. "Poor Paul," she whispered. "I asked you a question, Jessica." The old woman's voice was snappish, demanding. "What? Oh." Jessica tore her attention away from the past, faced the Reverend Mother who sat with back to the stone wall between the two west windows. "What do you want me to say?" "What do I want you to say? What do I want you to say?" The old voice carried a tone of cruel mimicry. "So I had a son," Jessica flared, and she knew she was being goaded into this anger deliberately. "You were told to bear only daughters to the Atreides." "It meant so much to him," Jessica pleaded. "And you, in your pride, thought you could produce the Kwisatz Haderach." Jessica lifted her chin. "I sensed the possibility." "You thought only of your Duke's desire for a son," the old woman snapped. "And his desires don't figure in this. An Atreides daughter could have been wed to a Harkonnen heir and sealed the breach. You've hopelessly complicated matters. We may lose both bloodlines now." "You're not infallible," Jessica said. She braved the steady stare from the old eyes. Presently the old woman muttered, "What's done is done." "I vowed never to regret my decision," Jessica said. "How noble," the Reverend Mother sneered. "No regrets. We shall see when you're a fugitive with a price on your head and every man's hand turned against you to seek your life and the life of your son." Jessica paled. "Is there no alternative?" "Alternative? A Bene Gesserit should ask that?" "I ask only what you see in the future with your superior abilities." "I see in the future what I've seen in the past. You well know the pattern of our affairs, Jessica. The race knows its own mortality and fears stagnation of its heredity. It's in the bloodstream, the urge to mingle genetic strains without plan. The Imperium, the Chome Company, all the great houses, they are but bits of flotsam in the path of the flood. Jessica muttered. I suppose it's already decided how they'll redivide the spoils of Arrakis. What is Chome but the weather vane of our times? The old woman said. The Emperor and his friends now command 59.65% of the Chome directorship's votes. Certainly they smell profits, and likely as others smell those same profits, his voting strength will increase. This is the pattern of history, girl. That's certainly what I need right now, Jessica said. A review of history. Don't be facetious, girl. You know as well as I do what forces surround us. We've a 3-point civilization. The imperial household balanced against the federated great houses of the Landsrot, and between them, the Guild, with its damnable monopoly on interstellar transport. In politics, the tripod is the most unstable of all structures. It had been bad enough without the complication of a feudal trade culture which turns its back on most science. Jessica spoke bitterly. Chips in the path of the flood. And this chip here, this is the Duke Leto, and this one's his son, and this one's— Oh, shut up, girl! You entered this with full knowledge of the delicate edge you walked. I am Bene Gesserit. I exist only to serve, Jessica quoted. Truth, the old woman said. And all we can hope for now is to prevent this from erupting into general conflagration, to salvage what we can of the key bloodlines. Jessica closed her eyes, feeling tears press out beneath the lids. She fought down the inner trembling, the outer trembling, the uneven breathing, the ragged pulse, the sweating of the palms. Presently, she said, I'll pay for my own mistake. And your son will pay with you. I'll shield him as well as I'm able. Shield? The old woman snapped. You well know the weakness there. Shield your son too much, Jessica, and he'll not grow strong enough to fulfill any destiny. Jessica turned away, looked out the window at the gathering darkness. Is it really that terrible, this planet of Arrakis? Bad enough, but not all bad. The Missionaria Protectiva has been there and softened it up somewhat. The Reverend Mother heaved herself to her feet, straightened a fold in her gown. Call the boy in here. I must be leaving soon. Must you? The old woman's voice softened. Jessica, girl, I wish I could stand in your place and take your sufferings. But each of us must make her own path. I know. You're as dear to me as any of my own daughters, but I cannot let that interfere with duty. I understand the necessity. What you did, Jessica, and why you did it, we both know. But kindness forces me to tell you there's little chance your lad will be the Bene Gesserit totality. You mustn't let yourself hope too much. Jessica shook tears from the corners of her eyes. It was an angry gesture. You make me feel like a little girl again, reciting my first lesson. She forced the words out. Humans must never submit to animals. A dry sob shook her. In a low voice, she said,
Hey, James Money, how you doing?
So lonely. It should be one of the tests, the old woman said. Humans are almost always lonely. Now summon the boy. He's had a long, frightening day, but he's had time to think and remember, and I must ask the other questions about these dreams of his. Jessica nodded, went to the door of the meditation chamber, opened it. Paul, come in now, please. Paul emerged with a stubborn slowness. He stared at his mother as though she were a stranger. Wariness veiled his eyes when he glanced at the Reverend Mother, but this time he nodded to her, the nod one gives an equal. He heard his mother close the door behind him. Young man, the old woman said, let's return to this dream business. What do you want? Do you dream every night? Not dreams worth remembering. I can remember every dream, but some are worth remembering and some aren't. How do you know the difference? I just know it. The old woman glanced at Jessica, back to Paul. What did you dream last night? Was it worth remembering? Yes. Paul closed his eyes. I dreamed a cavern, and water, and a girl there, very skinny with big eyes. Her eyes are all blue, no whites in them. I talk to her and tell her about you, about seeing the Reverend Mother on Caladan. Paul opened his eyes. And the thing you tell this strange girl about seeing me? Did it happen today? Paul thought about this. Then, yes. I tell the girl you came and put a stamp of strangeness on me. Stamp of strangeness. The old woman breathed, and again she shot a glance at Jessica, returned her attention to Paul. Tell me truly now, Paul, do you often have dreams of things that happen afterward exactly as you dreamed them? Yes. And I've dreamed about that girl before. Oh. You know her? I will know her. Tell me about her. Again, Paul closed his eyes. We're in a little place in some rocks where it's sheltered. It's almost night, but it's hot, and I can see patches of sand out of an opening in the rocks. We're waiting for something, for me to go meet some people. And she's frightened, but trying to hide it from me, and I'm excited. And she says, tell me about the waters of your home world, Usul. Paul opened his eyes. Isn't that strange? My home world's Caladan. I've never even heard of a planet called Usul. Is there more to this dream? Jessica prompted. Yes. But maybe she was calling me Usul, Paul said. I just thought of that. Again, he closed his eyes. She asks me to tell her about the waters, and I take her hand, and I say I'll tell her a poem, and I tell her the poem, but I have to explain some of the words, like beach, and surf, and seed, and seagulls. What poem? The Reverend Mother asked. Paul opened his eyes. It's just one of Gurney Halleck's tone poems for sad times. Behind Paul, Jessica began to recite. I remember salt smoke from beach fire, and shadows under the pines, solid, clean, fixed. Seagulls perched at the tip of land, white upon green, and a wind comes through the pines to sway the shadows. The seagulls spread their wings, lift, and fill the sky with screeches, and I hear the wind blowing across our beach, and the surf, and I see that our fire has scorched the seaweed. That's the one, Paul said. The old woman stared at Paul, then, young man, as a proctor of the Bene Gesserit, I seek the Kwisatz Haderach, the male who truly can become one of us. Your mother sees this possibility in you, but she sees with the eyes of a mother. Possibility I see, too, but no more. She fell silent, and Paul saw that she wanted him to speak. He waited her out. Presently she said, As you will, then. You've depths in you, that I'll grant. May I go now? He asked. Don't you want to hear what the Reverend Mother can tell you about the Kwisatz Haderach? Jessica asked. She said those who tried for it died. But I can help you with a few hints at why they failed, the Reverend Mother said. She talks of hints, Paul thought. She doesn't really know anything. And he said, Hint, then. And be damned to me? She smiled wryly, a crisscross of wrinkles in the old face. Very well. That which submits rules. He felt astonishment. She was talking about such elementary things as tension within meaning. Did she think his mother had taught him nothing at all? That's a hint, he asked. We're not here to bandy words or quibble over their meaning, the old woman said. The willow submits to the wind and prospers until one day it is many willows, a wall against the wind. This is the willow's purpose. Paul stared at her. She said purpose, and he felt the word buffet him, reinfecting him with terrible purpose. He experienced a sudden anger at her, fatuous old witch with her mouth full of platitudes. You think I could be this Kwisatz Haderach? He said. You talk about me, but you haven't said one thing about what we can do to help my father. I've heard you talking to my mother. You talk as though my father were dead. Well, he isn't. If there were a thing to be done for him, we'd have done it, the old woman growled. We may be able to salvage you. Doubtful, but possible. For your father, nothing. When you've learned to accept that as a fact, you've learned a real Bene Gesserit lesson. Paul saw how the words shook his mother. He glared at the old woman. How could she say such a thing about his father? What made her so sure? His mind seethed with resentment. The Reverend Mother looked at Jessica. You've been training him in the way. I've seen the signs of it. I'd have done the same in your shoes, and devil take the rules. Jessica nodded. Now I caution you, said the old woman, to ignore the regular order of training. His own safety requires the voice. He already has a good start in it, but we both know how much more he needs, and that desperately. She stepped close to Paul, stared down at him. Goodbye, young human. I hope you make it. But if you don't, well, we shall yet succeed. Once more she looked at Jessica. A flicker sign of understanding passed between them. Then the old woman swept from the room, her robes hissing, with not another backward glance. The room and its occupants already were shut from her thoughts. But Jessica had caught one glimpse of the Reverend Mother's face as she turned away. There had been tears on the seamed cheeks. The tears were more unnerving than any other word or sign that had passed between them this day.
You have read that Muad'Dib had no playmates his own age on Caladan. The dangers were too great. But Muad'Dib did have wonderful companion teachers. There was Gurney Halleck, the troubadour warrior. You will sing some of Gurney's songs as you read along in this book. There was Thufir Hawat, the old Mentat master of assassins, who struck fear even into the heart of the Padishah Emperor. There were Duncan Idaho, the sword master of the Ginnars, Dr. Wellington Huey, a name black in treachery but bright in knowledge, the Lady Jessica, who guided her son in the Bene Gesserit way, and of course the Duke Leto, whose qualities as a father have long been overlooked. From A Child's History of Muad'Dib by the Princess Irulan.
Thufir Hawat slipped into the training room of Castle Caladan, closed the door softly. He stood there a moment, feeling old and tired and storm-leathered. His left leg ached where it had been slashed once in the service of the old Duke. 3 generations of them now, he thought. He stared across the big room, bright with the light of noon pouring through the skylights, saw the boy seated with back to the door, intent on papers and charts spread across an L table. How many times must I tell that lad never to settle himself with his back to a door? Hawat cleared his throat. Paul remained bent over his studies. A cloud shadow passed over the skylights. Again, Hawat cleared his throat. Paul straightened, spoke without turning.
I know. I'm sitting with my back to a door.
Hawat suppressed a smile, strode across the room. Paul looked up at the grizzled old man who stopped at a corner of the table. Hawat's eyes were 2 pools of alertness in a dark and deeply seamed face.
I heard you coming down the hall, and I heard you open the door. The sounds I make could be imitated. I'd know the difference.
He might at that, Howard thought. That witch mother of his is giving him the deep training, certainly. I wonder what her precious school thinks of that. Maybe that's why they've sent the old proctor here to whip our dear Lady Jessica into line. Howard pulled up a chair across from Paul, sat down facing the door. He did it pointedly, leaned back and studied the room. It struck him as an odd place suddenly, a stranger place with most of its hardware already gone off to Arrakis. A training table remained, and a fencing mirror with its crystal prisms quiescent, the target dummy beside it patched and padded, looking like an ancient foot soldier maimed and battered in the wars. There stand I, Howard thought.
Sophia, what are you thinking?
Howard looked at the boy.
I was thinking we'll all be out of here soon and likely never see the place again. Does that make you sad? Sad? Nonsense. Parting with friends is a sadness. A place is only a place.
Howard glanced at the charts on the table.
And Arrakis is just another place. Did my father send you up to test me?
Howard scowled. The boy had such observing ways about him. He nodded.
You're thinking it'd been nicer if he'd come up himself, but you must know how busy he is. He'll be along later. I've been studying about the storms on Arrakis. Storms? I see. They sound pretty bad. It's too cautious a word. Bad. Those storms build up across 6,000 or 7,000 kilometers of flat land, speed on anything that can give them a push. Coriolis force, other storms, anything that has an ounce of energy in it. They can blow up to 700 kilometers an hour, loaded with everything loose that's in their way, sand, dust, everything. They can eat flesh off bones and etch the bones to slivers. Why don't they have weather control? Arrakis has special problems, costs are higher, and there'd be maintenance and the like. The Guild wants a dreadful high price for satellite control, and your father's house isn't one of the big rich ones, lad, you know that. Have you ever seen the Fremen?
The lad's mind is darting all over today, Howard thought.
Like as not, I've seen them. There's little to tell them from the folk of the Graven and Sink. They all wear those great flowing robes. And they stink to heaven in any closed space. It's from those suits they wear, call them still suits, that reclaim the body's own water.
Paul swallowed, suddenly aware of the moisture in his mouth, remembering a dream of thirst. That people could want so for water they had to recycle their body moisture struck him with a feeling of desolation.
Water's precious there.
Howard nodded, thinking, perhaps I'm doing it, getting across to him the importance of this planet as an enemy. It's madness to go in there without that caution in our minds. Or looked up at the skylight, aware that it had begun to rain. He saw the spreading wetness on the grey metaglass.
Water. You'll learn a great concern for water. As the Duke's son, you'll never want for it, but you'll see the pressures of thirst all around you.
Paul wet his lips with his tongue, thinking back to the day a week ago and the ordeal with the Reverend Mother. She, too, had said something about water starvation. You'll learn about the funeral plains, she'd said, about the wilderness that is empty, the wasteland where nothing lives except the spice and the sandworms. You'll stain your eye pits to reduce the sun glare. Shelter will mean a hollow out of the wind and hidden from view. You'll ride upon your own 2 feet without thopter or ground car or mount. And Paul had been caught more by her tone, sing-song and wavering, than by her words. When you live upon Arrakis, she had said, Khala, the land is empty. The moons will be your friends, the sun your enemy. Paul had sensed his mother come up beside him, away from her post guarding the door. She had looked at the Reverend Mother and asked, Do you see no hope, Your Reverence? Not for the father. And the old woman had waved Jessica to silence, looked down at Paul. Grave this on your memory, lad. A world is supported by 4 things. She held up 4 big knuckled fingers, The learning of the wise, the justice of the great, the prayers of the righteous, and the valor of the brave, but all of these are as nothing. She closed her fingers into a fist. Without a ruler who knows the art of ruling, make that the science of your tradition. A week had passed since that day with the Reverend Mother. Her words were only now beginning to come into full register. Now, sitting in the training room with Thulfir Hawat, Paul felt a sharp pang of fear. He looked across at the Mentat's puzzled frown. He seems to be getting over it, Hawat thought. But that old witch frightened him. Why did she do it?
Thulfir, will Arrakis be as bad as she said?
Nothing could be that bad.
Hawat forced a smile.
Take those Fremen, for example, the renegade people of the desert. By first approximation analysis, I can tell you there are many, many more of them than the Imperium suspects. People live there, lad, great many people, and they hate Harkonnens with a bloody passion. You must not breathe a word of this, lad. I tell you only as your father's helper.
My father has told me of Seleucus Secundus. Do you know, Thulfir, it sounds much like Arrakis. Perhaps not quite as bad, but much like it.
We do not really know of Seleucus Secundus today. Only what it was like long ago, mostly. But what is known, you're right on that score.
Will the Fremen help us?
It's a possibility.
Hawat stood up.
I leave today for Arrakis. Meanwhile, you take care of yourself for an old man who's fond of you. Come round here like the good lad and sit facing the door. It's not that I think there's any danger in the castle. It's just a habit I want you to form.
Paul got to his feet, moved around the table.
You're going today?
Today it is. You'll be following tomorrow. Next time we meet, it'll be on the soil of your new world.
He gripped Paul's right arm at the bicep.
Keep your knife arm free, eh? And your shield at full charge.
He released the arm, patted Paul's shoulder, whirled, and strode quickly to the door.
Thulfir,
Hawat turned, standing in the open doorway.
don't sit with your back to any doors.
A grin spread across the seamed old face.
That I won't, lad. Depend on it.
And he was gone, shutting the door softly behind. Paul sat down where Hawat had been, straightened the papers. One more day here, he thought. He looked around the room. We're leaving. The idea of departure was suddenly more real to him than it had ever been before. He recalled another thing the old woman had said about a world being the sum of many things: the people, the dirt, the growing things, the moons, the tides, the suns. The unknown sum called nature, a vague summation without any sense of the now. And he wondered, what is the now? The door across from Paul banged open, and an ugly lump of a man lurched through it, preceded by a handful of weapons.
Well, Gurney Halleck, are you the new weapons master?
Halleck kicked the door shut with one heel.
You'd rather I came to play games, I know.
He glanced around the room, noting that Hawat's men had already been over it, checking, making it safe for a duke's heir. The subtle code signs were all around. Paul watched the rolling, ugly man set himself back in motion, veer toward the training table with the load of weapons. Saw the 9-string balisette slung over Gurney's shoulder with a multi-pick woven through the strings near the head of the fingerboard. Halleck dropped the weapons on the exercise table, lined them up. The rapiers, the bodkins, the kinjals, the slow pellet stunners, the shield belts. The ink vine scarred along his jawline writhed as he turned, casting a smile across the room.
So you don't even have a good morning for me, you young imp. What barb did you sink in old Howard? He passed me in the hall like a man running to his enemy's funeral.
Paul grinned. Of all his father's men, he liked Gurney Halleck best. Knew the man's moods and deviltry, his humours, and thought of him more as a friend than as a hired sword. Halleck swung the balisette off his shoulder, began tuning it.
If you won't talk, you won't.
Paul stood and advanced across the room.
Well, Gurney, do we come prepared for music when it's fighting time?
So it's sass for our elders today.
Alec tried a chord on the instrument, nodded.
Where's Duncan, Idaho? Isn't he supposed to be teaching me weaponry?
Duncan's gone to lead the second wave onto Arrakis. All you have left is poor Gurney, who's fresh out of fight, spoiling for music.
He struck another chord, listened to it, smiled.
And it was decided in council that you being such a poor fighter, we'd best teach you the music trade so's you won't waste your life entire.
Maybe you'd better sing me a lay then. I want to be sure how not to do it.
Ah-ha.
Gurney laughed, and he swung into Galatian Girls, his multi-picker blur over the strings as he sang. Oh, the Galatian girls will do it for pearls, and the Arakeen for water. But if you desire dames like consuming flames, try a Caledonian daughter.
Not bad for such a poor hand with the pick. But if my mother heard you singing a bawdy like that in the castle, she'd have your ears on the outer wall for decoration.
Gurney pulled at his left ear.
Poor decoration, too, they having been bruised so much listening at keyholes while a young lad I know practiced some strange ditties on his balisette.
So you've forgotten what it's like to find sand in your bed?
Paul pulled a shield belt from the table, buckled it fast around his waist.
Then let's fight.
So, it was your wicked hand did that deed. Guard yourself today, young master. Guard yourself.
He grabbed up a rapier, laced the air with it.
I'm a hell fiend out for revenge.
Paul lifted the companion rapier, bent it in his hands, stood in the agile, 1 foot forward. He let his manner go solemn, in a comic imitation of Dr. Ewing.
What a dolt my father sends me for weaponry. This doltish Gurney Halleck has forgotten the first lesson for a fighting man armed and shielded.
Paul snapped the force button at his waist, felt the crinkled skin tingling of the defensive field at his forehead and down his back, heard external sounds take on characteristic shield-filtered flatness.
In shield fighting, one moves fast on defense, slow on attack. Attack has the sole purpose of tricking the opponent into a misstep, setting him up for the attack sinister. The shield turns the fast blow, admits the slow kinjal.
Paul snapped up the rapier, feinted fast, and whipped it back for a slow thrust, timed to enter a shield's mindless defenses. Alec watched the action, turned at the last minute to let the blunted blade pass his chest.
Speed, excellent. But you were wide open for an underhanded counter with a slip tip.
Paul stepped back, chagrined.
I should whap your backside for such carelessness.
He lifted a naked kinjal from the table and held it up.
This in the hand of an enemy can let out your life's blood. You're an apt pupil, none better, but I've warned you that not even in play do you let a man inside your guard with death in his hand.
I guess I'm not in the mood for it today.
Mood? What has mood to do with it? You fight when the necessity arises, no matter the mood. Mood's a thing for cattle or making love or playing the balisette. It's not for fighting.
I'm sorry, Gurney.
You're not sorry enough.
Alec activated his own shield, crouched with kinjal outthrust in left hand, the rapier poised high in his right.
Now I say guard yourself for true.
He leaped high to one side, then forward, pressing a furious attack. Paul fell back, parrying. He felt the field crackling as shield edges touched and repelled each other, sensed the electric tingling of the contact along his skin. What's gotten into Gurney? He asked himself. He's not faking this. Paul moved his left hand, dropped his bodkin into his palm from its wrist sheath.
You see a need for an extra blade, eh?
Is this betrayal? Paul wondered. Surely not Gurney. Across the room they fought, thrust and parry, feint and counter-feint. The air within their shield bubbles grew stale from the demands on it that the slow interchange along barrier edges could not replenish. With each new shield contact, the smell of ozone grew stronger. Paul continued to back, but now he directed his retreat toward the exercise table. If I can turn him beside the table, I'll show him a trick, Paul thought. One more step, Gurney. Halleck took the step. Paul directed a parry downward, turned, saw Halleck's rapier catch against the table's edge. Paul flung himself aside, thrust high with rapier, and came in across Halleck's neckline with the bodkin. He stopped the blade an inch from the jugular.
Is this what you seek?
Look down, lad.
Paul obeyed, saw Halleck's kinjal thrust under the table's edge, the tip almost touching Paul's groin.
We'd have joined each other in death, but I'll admit you fought some better when pressed to it. You seem to get the mood.
He grinned wolfishly, the ink-vine scar rippling along his jaw.
The way you came at me, would you really have drawn my blood?
Halleck withdrew the kinjal, straightened.
If you'd fought one whit beneath your abilities, I'd have scratched you a good one, a scar you'd remember. I'll not have my favorite pupil fall to the first Harkonnen tramp who happens along.
Paul deactivated his shield, leaned on the table to catch his breath.
I deserved that, Gurney. But it would have angered my father if you'd hurt me. I'll not have you punished for my failing.
As to that, it was my failing too. And you needn't worry about a training scar or two. You're lucky you have so few. As to your father, the Duke could punish me only if I failed to make a first-class fighting man out of you. And I'd have been failing there if I hadn't explained the fallacy in this mood thing you've suddenly developed.
Paul straightened, slipped his bodkin back into its wrist sheath.
It's not exactly play we do here.
Paul nodded. He felt a sense of wonder at the uncharacteristic seriousness in Halleck's manner, the sobering intensity. He looked at the beet-colored ink-vine scar on the man's jaw, remembering the story of how it had been put there by Beast Raban in a Harkonnen slave pit on Giedi Prime. Paul felt a sudden shame that he had doubted Halleck even for an instant. It occurred to Paul then that the making of Halleck's scar had been accompanied by pain. A pain as intense, perhaps, as that inflicted by a reverend mother. He thrust this thought aside. It chilled their world.
I guess I did hope for some play today. Things are so serious around here lately.
Halleck turned away to hide his emotions. Something burned in his eyes. There was pain in him, like a blister, all that was left of some lost yesterday that time had pruned off. How soon this child must assume his manhood, Halleck thought. How soon he must read that form within his mind, that contract of brutal caution to enter the necessary fact on the necessary line. Please list your next of kin. Halleck spoke without turning.
I sense the play in you, lad, and I'd like nothing better than to join in it. This no longer can be play. Tomorrow we go to Arrakis. Arrakis is real. The Harkonnens are real.
Paul touched his forehead with his rapier blade held vertical. Halleck turned, saw the salute, and acknowledged it with a nod. He gestured to the practice dummy.
Now, we'll work on your timing. Let me see you catch that thing sinister. I'll control it from over here where I can have a full view of the action, and I warn you, I'll be trying new counters today. There's a warning you'd not get from a real enemy.
Paul stretched up on his toes to relieve his muscles. He felt solemn with a sudden realization that his life had become filled with swift changes. He crossed to the dummy, slapped the switch on its chest with his rapier tip, and felt the defensive field forcing his blade away. "On guard!" Halleck called, and the dummy pressed the attack. Paul activated his shield, parried, and countered. Halleck watched as he manipulated the controls. His mind seemed to be in two parts, one alert to the needs of the training fight, and the other wandering in flybuds. I'm the well-trained fruit tree, he thought, full of well-trained feelings and abilities, and all of them grafted onto me, all bearing for someone else to pick. For some reason he recalled his younger sister, her elfin face so clear in his mind. But she was dead now, in a pleasure house for Harkonnen troops. He had loved pansies. Or was it daisies? He couldn't remember. It bothered him that he couldn't remember. Paul countered a slow swing of the dummy, brought up his left hand en courtise. A clever little devil, Alec thought, intent now on Paul's interweaving hand motions. He's been practicing and studying on his own. That's not Duncan's style, and it's certainly nothing I've taught him. This thought only added to Alec's sadness. I'm infected by mood, he thought, and he began to wonder about Paul, if the boy ever listened fearfully to his pillow throbbing in the night. If wishes were fishes, we'd all cast nets, he murmured. It was his mother's expression, and he always used it when he felt the blackness of tomorrow on him. Then he thought what an odd expression that was, to be taking to a planet that had never known seas or fishes.
Huey Wellington, Standard 10,082 to 10,191, Medical Doctor of the Souk School, graduated Standard 10,112, married Juana Marcus, Bene Gesserit, Standard 10,092 to 10,186, chiefly noted as betrayer of Duke Leto Atreides. C.F. Bibliography, Appendix 7, Imperial Conditioning and Betrayal, V. From Dictionary of Muad'Dib by the Princess Irulan.
Although he heard Dr. Huey enter the training room, noting the stiff deliberation of the man's pace, Paul remained stretched out, face down on the exercise table where the masseurs had left him. He felt deliciously relaxed after the workout with Gurney Halleck. "You do look comfortable," said Huey in his calm, high-pitched voice. Paul raised his head, saw the man's stick figure standing several paces away, took in at a glance the wrinkled black clothing, the square block of a head with purple lips and drooping mustache, the diamond tattoo of imperial conditioning on his forehead, the long black hair caught in the Souk School's silver ring at the left shoulder. "You'll be happy to hear we haven't time for regular lessons today," Huey said. "Your father will be along presently." Paul sat up. "However, I've arranged for you to have a film book viewer and several lessons during the crossing to Arrakis." "Oh." Paul began pulling on his clothes. He felt excitement that his father would be coming. They had spent so little time together since the Emperor's command to take over the fief of Arrakis. Huey crossed to the L table, thinking, how the boy has filled out these past few months. Such a waste. Oh, such a sad waste. And he reminded himself, I must not falter. What I do is done to be certain my Warner can no longer be hurt by the Harkonnen beasts. Paul joined him at the table, buttoning his jacket. What'll I be studying on the way across? Ah, the tyrannic life forms of Arrakis. The planet seems to have opened its arms to certain tyrannic life forms. It's not clear how. I must seek out the planetary ecologist when we arrive, a Dr. Kynes, and offer my help in the investigation. And Huey thought, what am I saying? I play a hypocrite even with myself. Will there be something on the Fremen? Paul asked. The Fremen? Huey drummed his fingers on the table, caught Paul staring at the nervous motion, withdrew his hand. Maybe you have something on the whole Arakeen population, Paul said. Yes, to be sure, Huey said. There are two general separations of the people. Fremen, they are one group, and the others are the people of the Graben, the Sink, and the Pan. There's some intermarriage, I'm told. The women of Pan and Sink villages prefer Fremen husbands. Their men prefer Fremen wives. They have a saying, polish comes from the cities, wisdom from the desert. Do you have pictures of them? I'll see what I can get you. The most interesting feature, of course, is their eyes. Totally blue, no whites in them. Mutation? No, it's linked to a saturation of the blood with melange. The Fremen must be brave to live at the edge of that desert. By all accounts, Huey said, they compose poems to their knives. Their women are as fierce as the men. Even Fremen children are violent and dangerous. You'll not be permitted to mingle with them, I dare say. Paul stared at Huey. finding in these few glimpses of the Fremen a power of words that caught his entire attention. What a people to win as allies! And the worms? Paul asked. What? I'd like to study more about the sandworms. Ah, to be sure. I've a film book on a small specimen, only 110 meters long and 22 meters in diameter. It was taken in the northern latitudes. Worms of more than 400 meters in length have been recorded by reliable witnesses, and there's reason to believe even larger ones exist. Paul glanced down at a conical projection chart of the northern Archean latitudes spread on the table. The desert belt and south polar regions are marked uninhabitable. Is it the worms and the storms that any place can be made habitable? If it's economically feasible, Yui said. Arrakis has many costly perils. He smoothed his drooping mustache. Your father will be here soon. Before I go, I've a gift for you, something I came across in packing. He put an object on the table between them, black, oblong, no larger than the end of Paul's thumb. Paul looked at it. Yui noted how the boy did not reach for it and thought, how cautious he is. It's a very old orange Catholic Bible made for space travelers. Not a film book, but actually printed on filament paper. It has its own magnifier and electrostatic charge system. He picked it up, demonstrated. The book is held closed by the charge, which forces against spring-locked covers. You press the edge, thus, and the pages you've selected repel each other and the book opens. It's so small, but it has 1,800 pages. You press the edge thus and so, and the charge moves ahead, one page at a time as you read. Never touch the actual pages with your fingers. The filament tissue is too delicate. He closed the book, handed it to Paul. Try it. Yui watched Paul work the page adjustment, thought, I salve my own conscience. I give him the surcease of religion before betraying him. Thus may I say to myself that he has gone where I cannot go. This must have been made before film books, Paul said. It's quite old. Let it be our secret, eh? Your parents might think it too valuable for one so young. And Yui thought, his mother would surely wonder at my motives. Well, Paul closed the book, held it in his hand. If it's so valuable. Indulge an old man's whim, Yui said. It was given to me when I was very young. And he thought, I must catch his mind as well as his cupidity. Open it to 467 Kalima, where it says, From water does all life begin. There's a slight notch on the edge of the cover to mark the place. Paul felt the cover, detected 2 notches, one shallower than the other. He pressed the shallower one, and the book spread open on his palm, its magnifier sliding into place. Read it aloud, Yui said. Paul wet his lips with his tongue, read, Think you of the fact that a deaf person cannot hear. Then what deafness may we not all possess? What senses do we lack that we cannot see and cannot hear another world all around us? What is there around us that we cannot— Stop it! Yui barked. Paul broke off, stared at him. Yui closed his eyes, fought to regain composure. What perversity caused the book to open at my Wanna's favorite passage? He opened his eyes, saw Paul staring at him. Is something wrong? Paul asked. I'm sorry, Yui said. That was my dead wife's favorite passage. It's not the one I intended you to read. It brings up memories that are painful. There are 2 notches, Paul said. Of course, Yui thought. Wanna marked her passage. His fingers are more sensitive than mine and found her mark. It was an accident, no more. You may find the book interesting, Yui said. It has much historical truth in it, as well as good ethical philosophy. Paul looked down at the tiny book in his palm, such a small thing. Yet It contained a mystery. Something had happened while he read from it. He had felt something stir his terrible purpose. "Your father will be here any minute," Yui said. "Put the book away and read it at your leisure." Paul touched the edge of it as Yui had shown him. The book sealed itself. He slipped it into his tunic. For a moment there, when Yui had barked at him, Paul had feared the man would demand the book's return. "I thank you for the gift, Dr. Yui," Paul said, speaking formally. "It will be our secret. If there is a gift of favor you wish from me, please do not hesitate to ask." "I need for nothing," Yui said. And he thought, why do I stand here torturing myself, and torturing this poor lad, though he does not know it? Oi! Damn those Harkonnen beasts! Why did they choose me for their abomination?
How do we approach the study of Muad'Dib's father? A man of surpassing warmth and surprising coldness was the Duke Leto Atreides. Yet many facts open the way to this Duke: his abiding love for his Bene Gesserit lady, the dreams he held for his son, the devotion with which men served him. You see him there, a man snared by destiny, a lonely figure with his light dimmed behind the glory of his son. Still, one must ask, what is the son but an extension of the father? From Muad'Dib, Family Commentaries by the Princess Irulan.
Paul watched his father enter the training room, saw the guards take up stations outside. One of them closed the door. As always, Paul experienced a sense of presence in his father. Someone totally here. The Duke was tall, olive-skinned. His thin face held harsh angles warmed only by deep grey eyes. He wore a black working uniform with red armorial hawk crest at the breast. A silvered shield belt with a patina of much use girded his narrow waist.
"Hard at work, son?"
He crossed to the L table, glanced at the papers on it, swept his gaze around the room and back to Paul. He felt tired, filled with the ache of not showing his fatigue. I must use every opportunity to rest during the crossing to Arrakis, he thought. There'll be no rest on Arrakis.
Not very hard. Everything's so...
Yes. Well, tomorrow we leave. It'll be good to get settled in our new home. Put all this upset behind.
Paul nodded, suddenly overcome by memory of the Reverend Mother's words. For the father, nothing.
Father, will Arrakis be as dangerous as everyone says?
The Duke forced himself to the casual gesture, sat down on the corner of the table, smiled. A whole pattern of conversation welled up in his mind, the kind of thing he might use to dispel the vapors in his men before a battle. The pattern froze before it could be vocalized, confronted by the single thought, "This is my son."
It'll be dangerous.
Howard tells me we have a plan for the Fremen.
Paul wondered, why don't I tell him what that old woman said? How did she seal my tongue? The Duke noted his son's distress.
As always, Hawat sees the main chance. But there's much more. I see also the Combiné Honnête Aubert Advensaire Mercantile, the Chom Company. By giving me Arrakis, His Majesty is forced to give us a Chom directorship. A subtle game.
Chom controls the spice.
And Arrakis, with its spice, is our avenue into Chom. There's more to Chom than melange.
Did the Reverend Mother warn you?
Paul clenched his fists, feeling his palms slippery with perspiration. The effort it had taken to ask that question.
Hawat tells me she frightened you with warnings about Arrakis. Don't let a woman's fears cloud your mind. No woman wants her loved ones in danger. The hand behind those warnings was your mother's. Take this as a sign of her love for us.
Does she know about the Fremen?
Yes. And about much more.
What?
And the Duke thought, the truth could be worse than he imagines. But even dangerous facts are valuable if you've been trained to deal with them. And there's one place where nothing has been spared for my son. Dealing with dangerous facts. This must be leavened, though. He is young.
Few products escape the Chone touch. Logs, donkeys, horses, cows, lumber, dung, sharks, whale fur. The most prosaic and the most exotic. Even our poor pundi rice from Caladan. Anything the guild will transport. The art forms of Icaz, the machines of Richesi and Ix. But all fades before melange. A handful of spice will buy a home on Tupali. It cannot be manufactured. It must be mined on Arrakis. It is unique, and it has true geriatric properties.
And now we control it.
To a certain degree. But the important thing is to consider all the houses that depend on Chone profits. And think of the enormous proportion of those profits dependent upon a single product. The spice. Imagine what would happen if something should reduce spice production.
Whoever had stockpiled melange could make a killing.
Others would be out in the cold.
The Duke permitted himself a moment of grim satisfaction, looking at his son and thinking how penetrating, how truly educated that observation had been. He nodded.
The Harkonnens have been stockpiling for more than 20 years.
They mean spice production to fail and you to be blamed.
They wish the Atreides name to become unpopular. Think of the Landsrot houses that look to me for a certain amount of leadership. Their unofficial spokesman. Think how they'd react if I were responsible for a serious reduction in their income. After all, one's own profits come first. The great convention be damned. You can't let someone pauperize you.
A harsh smile twisted the Duke's mouth.
They'd look the other way, no matter what was done to me.
Even if we were attacked with atomics?
Nothing that flagrant. No open defiance of the convention. But almost anything else short of that. Perhaps even dusting and a bit of soil poisoning.
Then why are we walking into this?
Knowing where the trap is. That's the first step in evading it. This is like single combat, son, only on a larger scale. A feint within a feint within a feint, seemingly without end. The task is to unravel it. Knowing that the Harkonnens stockpile melange, we ask another question. Who else is stockpiling? That's the list of our enemies. Who? Certain houses we knew were unfriendly, and some we thought friendly. We need not consider them for the moment, because there is one other much more important. Our beloved Padishah Emperor.
Paul tried to swallow in a throat suddenly dry.
Couldn't you convene the Landsrad? Expose...
Make our enemy aware we know which hand holds the knife? Paul, we see the knife now. Who knows where it might be shifted next? If we put this before the Landsrad, it'd only create a great cloud of confusion. The Emperor would deny it. Who could gainsay him? All we'd gain is a little time while risking chaos. Where would the next attack come from?
All the houses might start stockpiling spice.
Our enemies have a head start. Too much of a lead to overcome.
The Emperor. That means the Sardaukar.
Disguised in Harkonnen livery, no doubt. But the soldier fanatics nonetheless.
How can Fremen help us against Sardaukar?
Did Hawat talk to you about Seleucus Secundus?
The Emperor's prison planet? No.
What if it were more than a prison planet, Paul? There's a question you never hear asked about the Imperial Corps of Sardaukar. Where do they come from?
From the prison planet?
They come from somewhere.
But the supporting levies the Emperor demands from...
That's what we're led to believe. They're just the Emperor's levies, trained young and superbly. You hear an occasional muttering about the Emperor's training cadres, but the balance of our civilization remains the same. The military forces of the Landsraad great houses on one side, the Sardaukar and their supporting levies on the other. And their supporting levies, Paul. The Sardaukar remain the Sardaukar.
But every report on Seleucus Secundus says SS is a hell world.
Undoubtedly. But if you are going to raise tough, strong, ferocious men, what environmental conditions would you impose on them?
How could you win the loyalty of such men?
There are proven ways. Play on the certain knowledge of their superiority, the mystique of secret covenant, the esprit of shared suffering. It can be done. It has been done on many worlds in many times.
Paul nodded, holding his attention on his father's face. He felt some revelation impending.
Consider Arrakis. When you get outside towns and garrison villages, it's every bit as terrible a place as Seleucus Secundus.
Paul's eyes went wide.
The Fremen!
We have there the potential of a core as strong and deadly as the Sardaukar. It'll require patience to exploit them secretly and wealth to equip them properly. But the Fremen are there, and the spice wealth is there. You see now why we walk into Arrakis, knowing the trap is there.
Don't the Harkonnens know about the Fremen?
The Harkonnens sneered at the Fremen, hunted them for sport, never even bothered trying to count them. We know the Harkonnen policy with planetary populations. Spend as little as possible to maintain them.
The metallic threads in the hawk symbol above his father's breast glistened as the Duke shifted his position.
You see?
We're negotiating with the Fremen right now.
I sent a mission headed by Duncan Idaho. A proud and ruthless man, Duncan, but fond of the truth. I think the Fremen will admire him. If we're lucky, they may judge us by him. Duncan, the moral.
Duncan the moral, and Gurney the valorous.
You named them well.
And Paul thought, Gurney's one of those the Reverend Mother meant, a supporter of words, the valor of the brave.
Gurney tells me you did well in weapons today.
That isn't what he told me.
I figured Gurney to be sparse with his praise. He says you have a nicety of awareness, in his own words, of the difference between a blade's edge and its tip.
Gurney says there's no artistry in killing with the tip, that it should be done with the edge.
Gurney's a romantic. I'd sooner you never had to kill. But if the need arises, you do it however you can, tip or edge.
The Duke looked up at the skylight, on which the rain was drumming. Seeing the direction of his father's stare, Paul thought of the wet skies out there, a thing never to be seen on Arrakis from all accounts, and this thought of skies put him in mind of the space beyond.
Are the guild ships really big?
The Duke looked at him.
This will be your first time off planet. Yes, they're big. We'll be riding a Highliner because it's a long trip. A Highliner is truly big. Its hold will tuck all our frigates and transports into a little corner. We'll be just a small part of the ship's manifest.
And we won't be able to leave our frigates.
That's part of the price you pay for guild security. There could be Harkonnen ships right alongside us, and we'd have nothing to fear from them. The Harkonnens know better than to endanger their shipping privileges.
I'm going to watch our screens and try to see a guildsman.
You won't. Not even their agents ever see a guildsman. The guild's as jealous of its privacy as it is of its monopoly. Don't do anything to endanger our shipping privileges, Paul.
Do you think they hide because they've mutated and don't look human anymore?
Who knows? It's a mystery we're not likely to solve. We've more immediate problems. Among them, you.
Me?
Your mother wanted
still
me to be
dab.
the one to tell you.
Dab
about.
and reclaim, but
You see,
still dab.
you may have mental capabilities.
Paul stared at his father. unable to speak for a moment. Then,
A mentat? Me? But
Howard agrees, son. It's true.
I thought mentat training had to start during infancy and the subject couldn't be told because it might inhibit the early...
Paul broke off, all his past circumstances coming to focus in one flashing computation.
I see.
A day comes when the potential mentat must learn what's being done. It may no longer be done to him. The mentat has to share in the choice of whether to continue or abandon training. Some can continue. Some are incapable of it. Only the potential mentat can tell this for sure about himself.
Paul rubbed his chin. All the special training from Howard and his mother, the mnemonics, the focusing of awareness, the muscle control and sharpening of sensitivities, the study of languages and nuances of voices, all of it clicked into a new kind of understanding in his mind.
Still need a charge.
You'll be the Duke someday, son. A mentat Duke would be formidable indeed. Can you decide now? Or do you need more time?
I'll go on with the training.
Formidable indeed.
Paul saw the proud smile on his father's face. The smile shocked Paul. It had a skull look on the Duke's narrow features. Paul closed his eyes, feeling the terrible purpose reawaken within him. Perhaps being a mentat is terrible purpose, he thought. But even as he focused on this thought, his new awareness denied it.
With the Lady Jessica and Arrakis, the Bene Gesserit system of sowing implant legends through the Missionaria Protectiva came to its full fruition. The wisdom of seeding the known universe with a prophecy pattern for the protection of Bene Gesserit personnel has long been appreciated, but never have we seen a condition utus with more ideal mating of person in preparation. The prophetic legends had taken on Arrakis, even to the extent of adopted labels, including Reverend Heather, Panto and Respondo, and most of the Sharia Panoplia Prophetica. And it is generally accepted now that the Lady Jessica's latent abilities were grossly underestimated. From Analysis, the Erekine Crisis, by the Princess Irulan. Private circulation Bene Gesserit, file number AR 810888587.
All around the Lady Jessica, piled in corners of the Arakeen Great Hall, mounded in the open spaces, stood the packaged freight of their lives. Boxes, trunks, cartons, cases, some partly unpacked.
That's kind of nasty.
She could hear the cargo handlers from the guild shuttle depositing another load in the entry. Jessica stood in the center of the hall. She moved in a slow turn, looking up and around at shadowed carvings, crannies, and deeply recessed windows. This giant anachronism of a room reminded her of the Sisters' Hall at her Bene Gesserit school. But at the school, the effect had been of warmth. Here, all was bleak stone. Some architect had reached far back into history for these buttressed walls and dark hangings, she thought. The arched ceiling stood 2 stories above her, with great crossbeams she felt sure had been shipped here to Arrakis across space at monstrous cost. No planet of this system grew trees to make such beams, unless the beams were imitation wood. She thought not. This had been the government mansion in the days of the old empire. Costs had been of less importance then. It had been before the Harkonnens and their new megalopolis of Carthage, a cheap and brassy place some 200 kilometers northeast across the broken land. Leto had been wise to choose this place for his seat of government. The name, Arakeen, had a good sound, filled with tradition, and this was a smaller city, easier to sterilize and defend. Again there came the clatter of boxes being unloaded in the entry. Jessica sighed. Against the carton to her right stood the painting of the Duke's father. Wrapping twine hung from it like a frayed decoration. A piece of the twine was still clutched in Jessica's left hand. Beside the painting lay a black bull's head mounted on a polished board. The head was a dark island in a sea of wadded paper. Its plaque lay flat on the floor, and the bull's shiny muzzle pointed at the ceiling, as though the beast were ready to bellow a challenge into this echoing room. Jessica wondered what compulsion had brought her to uncover those two things first, the head and the painting. She knew there was something symbolic in the action. Not since the day when the Duke's buyers had taken her from the school had she felt this frightened and unsure of herself. The head and the picture. They heightened her feelings of confusion. She shuddered, glanced at the slit windows high overhead. It was still early afternoon here, and in these latitudes the sky looked black and cold, so much darker than the warm blue of Caladan. A pang of homesickness throbbed through her. So far away, Caladan.
Here we are.
The voice was Duke Leto's. She whirled, saw him striding from the arched passage to the dining hall. His black working uniform with red armorial hawk crest at the breast looked dusty and rumpled.
I thought you might have lost yourself in this hideous place.
It is a cold house.
She looked at his tallness, at the dark skin that made her think of olive groves and golden sun on blue waters. There was wood smoke in the grey of his eyes, but the face was predatory, thin, full of sharp angles and planes. A sudden fear of him tightened her breast. He had become such a savage, driving person since the decision to bow to the Emperor's command.
The whole city feels cold.
It's a dirty, dusty little garrison. We'll change that. These are public rooms for state occasions. I've just glanced at some of the family apartments in the south wing.
Battery low.
One second, everyone. My speaker went dead.
Bluetooth mode.
Sir.
He stepped closer, touched her arm, admiring her stateliness. And again he wondered at her unknown ancestry. A renegade house, perhaps? Some black-barred royalty? She looked more regal than the Emperor's own blood. Under the pressure of his stare, she turned half away, exposing her profile, and he realized there was no single and precise thing that brought her beauty to focus. The face was oval under a cap of hair the color of polished bronze. Her eyes were set wide, as green and clear as the morning skies of Caladan. The nose was small, the mouth wide and generous. Her figure was good, but scant, tall, and with its curves gone to slimness. He remembered that the lay sisters at the school had called her skinny, so his buyers had told him. But that description oversimplified. She had brought a regal beauty back into the Atreides line. He was glad that Paul favored her.
Where's Paul?
Someplace around the house, taking his lessons with Yui.
Probably in the south wing. I thought I heard Yui's voice, but I couldn't take time to look. I came here only to hang the key of Caladan Castle in the dining hall.
Jessica caught her breath, stopped the impulse to reach out to him. Hanging the key. There was finality in that action. But this was not the time or place for comforting.
I saw our banner over the house as we came in.
He glanced at the painting of his father.
Where were you going to hang that?
Somewhere in here.
No.
The word rang flat and final, telling her she could use trickery to persuade, but open argument was useless. Still, she had to try, even if the gesture served only to remind herself that she would not trick him.
My lord, if you'd only...
The answer remains no. I indulge you shamefully in most things, not in this. I've just come from the dining hall where there...
My lord, please.
The choice is between your digestion and my ancestral dignity, my dear. They will hang in the dining hall.
Yes, my lord.
You may resume your custom of dining in your rooms whenever possible. I shall expect you at your proper position only on formal occasions.
Thank you, my lord.
And don't go all cold and formal on me. Be thankful that I never married you, my dear. Then it'd be your duty to join me at table for every meal.
She held her face immobile, nodded.
Awad already has our own poison snooper over the dining table. There's a portable in your room.
You anticipated this disagreement?
My dear, I think also of your comfort. I've engaged servants. They're locals, but Hawat has cleared them. They're Fremen all. They'll do until our own people can be released from their other duties.
Can anyone from this place be truly safe?
Anyone who hates Harkonnens. You may even want to keep the head housekeeper, the Shadout Mapes.
Shadout, a Fremen title?
I'm told it means well dipper, a meaning with rather important overtones here. She may not strike you as a servant type, although Hawat speaks highly of her on the basis of Duncan's report. They're convinced she wants to serve. Specifically, that she wants to serve you.
Me?
The Fremen have learned that you're Bene Gesserit. There are legends here about the Bene Gesserit.
The Missionaria Protectiva, Jessica thought. No place escapes them.
Does this mean Duncan was successful? Will the Fremen be our allies?
There's nothing definite. They wish to observe us for a while, Duncan believes. They did, however, promise to stop raiding our outlying villages during a truce period. That's a more important gain than it might seem. Hawat tells me the Fremen were a deep thorn in the Harkonnens' side, that the extent of their ravages was a carefully guarded secret. It wouldn't have helped for the Emperor to learn the ineffectiveness of the Harkonnen military.
A Fremen housekeeper. She'll have the all-blue eyes.
Don't let the appearance of these people deceive you. There's a deep strength and healthy vitality in them. I think they'll be everything we need.
It's a dangerous gamble.
Let's not go into that again.
We are committed, no doubt of that.
Jessica went through the quick regimen of calmness, the 2 deep breaths, the ritual thought.
When I assign rooms, is there anything special I should reserve for you?
You must teach me someday how you do that. The way you thrust your worries aside and turn to practical matters. It must be a Bene Gesserit thing.
It's a female thing.
Well, assignment of rooms. Make certain I have large office space next to my sleeping quarters. There'll be more paperwork here than on Caladan. A guard room, of course. That should cover it. Don't worry about security of the house. Hawat's men have been over it in depth.
I'm sure they have.
The Duke glanced at his wristwatch.
And you might see that all our timepieces are adjusted for Erakeen local. I've assigned a tech to take care of it. He'll be along presently.
He brushed a strand of her hair back from her forehead.
I must return to the landing field now. The second shuttle's due any minute with my staff reserves.
Couldn't Hawat meet them, my lord? You look so tired.
The good Thufir is even busier than I am. You know this planet's infested with Harkonnen intrigues. Besides, I must try persuading some of the trained spice hunters against leaving. They have the option, with the change of fief. And this planetologist the Emperor and the Landsraad installed as judge of the change cannot be bought. He's allowing the opt. About 800 trained hands expect to go out on the spice shuttle, and there's a guild cargo ship standing by.
My lord.
Yes?
He will not be persuaded against trying to make this planet secure for us, she thought. And I cannot use my tricks on him.
At what time will you be expecting dinner?
That's not what she was going to say, he thought. Ah, my Jessica. Would that we were somewhere else, anywhere away from this terrible place. Alone, the 2 of us, without a care.
I'll eat in the officers' mess at the field. Don't expect me until very late. And, I'll be sending a guard car for Paul. I want him to attend our strategy conference.
He cleared his throat as though to say something else, then, without warning, turned and strode out, headed for the entry where she could hear more boxes being deposited. His voice sounded once from there, commanding and disdainful, the way he always spoke to servants when he was in a hurry.
The Lady Jessica's in the Great Hall. Join her there immediately.
The outer door slammed. Jessica turned away, faced the painting of Leto's father. It had been done by the famed artist Alba during the old Duke's middle years. He was portrayed in matador costume with a magenta cape flung over his left arm. The face looked young, hardly older than Leto's now, and with the same hawk features, the same grey stare. She clenched her fists at her sides, glared at the painting.
Damn you, damn you, damn you.
What are your orders, noble-born?
Jessica whirled, stared down at a knobby, grey-haired woman in a shapeless sack dress of bondsman brown. The woman looked as wrinkled and desiccated as any member of the mob that had greeted them along the way from the landing field that morning. Every native she had seen on this planet, Jessica thought, looked prune-dry and undernourished. Yet, Leto had said they were strong and vital. And there were the eyes, of course, that wash of deepest, darkest blue without any white, secretive, mysterious. Jessica forced herself not to stare. The woman gave a stiff-necked nod.
I am called the Shadout Mapes, noble-born. What are your orders?
You may refer to me as my lady. I'm not noble-born. I'm the bound concubine of the Duke Leto.
Again, that strange nod, and the woman peered upward at Jessica with a sly questioning.
There's a wife, then?
There is not, nor has there ever been. I am the Duke's only companion, the mother of his heir designate.
Even as she spoke, Jessica laughed inwardly at the pride behind her words. What was it St. Augustine said? She asked herself. The mind commands the body and it obeys. The mind orders itself and meets resistance. Yes, I am meeting more resistance lately. I could use a quiet retreat by myself. A weird cry sounded from the road outside the house. It was repeated. Sook! Sook! Then, Ikote! Ikote! And then, Sook!
What is that? I heard it several times as we drove through the streets this morning.
Only a water cellar, my lady. But you've no need to interest yourself in such as they. The cistern here holds 50,000 liters, and it's always kept full. Why, you know, my lady, I don't even have to wear my still suit here. And me, not even dead.
Jessica hesitated, wanting to question this Fremen woman, needing data to guide her. But bringing order to the confusion in the castle was more imperative. Still, she found the thought unsettling that water was a major mark of wealth here.
My husband told me of your title, Shadout. I recognized the word. It's a very ancient word.
You know the ancient tongues, then?
Tongues are the Bene Gesserit's first learning. I know the Botani Jib and the Chakopsa, all the hunting languages.
Just as the legend says.
Jessica wondered, why do I play out this sham? But the Bene Gesserit ways were devious and compelling.
I know the dark things and the ways of the Great Mother.
She read the more obvious signs in Mapes's actions and appearance, the petty betrayals.
Misesis pregia, andral tu repera. Trada chic buscacri, misesis pelacri.
Mapes took a backward step, appeared poised to flee.
I know many things. I know that you have borne children, that you have lost loved ones, that you have hidden in fear, and that you have done violence, and will yet do more violence. I know many things.
I meant no offense, my lady.
You speak of the legend and seek answers. Beware the answers you may find. I know you came prepared for violence with a weapon in your bodice.
Milady,
There's a remote possibility you could draw my life's blood. But in so doing, you'd bring down more ruin than your wildest fears could imagine. There are worse things than dying, you know, even for an entire people.
My lady,
Mapes appeared about to fall to her knees.
the weapon was sent as a gift to you should you prove to be the one.
And as the means of my death, should I prove otherwise.
Jessica waited in the seeming relaxation that made the Bene Gesserit training so terrifying in combat. Now we see which way the decision tips, she thought. Slowly, Mapes reached into the neck of her dress, brought out a dark sheath. A black handle with deep finger ridges protruded from it. She took sheath in one hand and handle in the other, withdrew a milk-white blade, held it up. The blade seemed to shine and glitter with a light of its own. It was double-edged, like a kinjal, and the blade was perhaps 20 centimeters long.
Do you know this, milady?
It could only be one thing, Jessica knew. The fabled Chris knife of Arrakis, the blade that had never been taken off the planet and was known only by rumor and wild gossip.
It's a Chris knife.
Say it not lightly. Do you know its meaning?
And Jessica thought, there was an edge to that question. Here's the reason this Fremen has taken service with me, to ask that one question. My answer could precipitate violence, or what? She seeks an answer from me, the meaning of a knife. She's called the Shadow in the Chakotsa language. Knife, that's death maker in Chakotsa. She's getting restive. I must answer now. Delay is as dangerous as the wrong answer.
It's a maker.
It was a sound of both grief and elation. She trembled so hard the knife blade sent glittering shards of reflection shooting around the room. Jessica waited, poised. She had intended to say the knife was a maker of death, and then add the ancient word, but every sense warned her now. All the deep training of alertness that exposed meaning in the most casual muscle twitch. The key word was maker. 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 Still, Mapes held the knife as though ready to use it.
Did you think that I, knowing the mysteries of the Great Mother, would not know the Maker?
Mapes lowered the knife.
My lady, when one has lived with prophecy for so long, the moment of revelation is a shock.
Jessica thought about the prophecy, the Sharia and the Panoplia Propheticus, a Bene Gesserit of the Missionaria Protectiva dropped here long centuries ago, long dead, no doubt, but her purpose accomplished. The protective legends implanted in these people against the day of a Bene Gesserit's need. Well, that day had come. Mapes returned knife to sheath.
This is an unfixed blade, my lady. Keep it near you, more than a week away from flesh, and it begins to disintegrate. It's yours, a tooth of Shai Halud, for as long as you live.
Jessica reached out her right hand, risked a gamble.
Mapes, you've sheathed that blade unblooded.
With a gasp, Mapes dropped the sheathed knife into Jessica's hand, tore open the brown bodice.
Take the water of my life.
Jessica withdrew the blade from its sheath. How it glittered. She directed the point toward Mapes, saw a fear greater than death, panic come over the woman. Poison in the point? Jessica wondered. She tipped up the point, drew a delicate scratch with the blade's edge above Mapes's left breast. There was a thick welling of blood that stopped almost immediately. Ultra-fast coagulation, Jessica thought. A moisture-conserving mutation. She sheathed the blade.
Button your dress, Mapes.
Mapes obeyed, trembling. The eyes without whites stared at Jessica.
You are ours. You are the one.
There came another sound of unloading in the entry. Swiftly, Mapes grabbed the sheathed knife, concealed it in Jessica's voice.
Who sees that knife must be cleansed or slain. You know that, milady.
I know it now, Jessica thought. The cargo handlers left without intruding on the great hall.
The uncleansed who have seen a crysknife may not leave Arrakis alive. Never forget that, milady. You've been entrusted with a crysknife. Now the thing must take its course. It cannot be hurried.
She glanced at the stacked boxes and piled goods around them.
And there's work aplenty to while the time for us here.
Jessica hesitated. The thing must take its course. That was a specific catchphrase from the Missionaria Protectiva's stock of incantations, the coming of the Reverend Mother to free. But I'm not a Reverend Mother, Jessica thought. And then, Great Mother, they planted that one here. This must be a hideous place.
What'll you be wanting me to do first, milady?
Instinct warned Jessica to match that casual tone.
The painting of the old Duke over there. It must be hung on one side of the dining hall. The bull's head must go on the wall opposite the painting.
Mapes crossed to the bull's head.
What a great beast it must have been to carry such a head. I'll have to be cleaning this first, won't I, milady?
No.
But there's dirt caked on its horns.
That's not dirt, Mapes. That's the blood of our Duke's father. Those horns were sprayed with a transparent fixative within hours after this beast killed the old Duke.
Ah, now!
It's just blood. Old blood at that. Get some help hanging these now. The beastly things are heavy.
Did you think the blood bothered me? I'm of the desert, and I've seen blood aplenty.
I see that you have.
And some of it my own. More'n you drew with your puny scratch.
You'd rather I'd cut deeper?
Ah, no. The body's water is scant enough, without gushing a wasteful lot of it into the air. You did the thing right.
And Jessica, noting the words and manner, caught the deeper implications in the phrase, the body's water. Again, she felt a sense of oppression, of the importance of water on Arrakis.
On which side of the dining hall shall I hang which one of these pretties, milady?
Ever the practical one, this Mapes, Jessica thought.
Use your own judgment, Mapes. It makes no real difference.
As you say, milady.
Mapes stooped, began clearing wrappings and twine from the head.
Killed an old duke, did you?
Shall I summon a handler to help you?
I'll manage, milady.
Yes, she'll manage, Jessica thought. There's that about this Fremen creature, the drive to manage. Jessica felt the cold sheath of the crysknife beneath her bodice, thought of the long chain of Bene Gesserit's scheming that had forged another link here. Because of that scheming, she had survived a deadly crisis. It cannot be hurried, Mapes had said. Yet there was a tempo of headlong rushing to this place that filled Jessica with foreboding, and not all the preparations of the Missionaria Protectiva, nor Hawat's suspicious inspection of this castellated pile of rocks, could dispel the feeling.
When you've finished hanging those, start unpacking the boxes. One of the cargo men at the entry has all the keys and knows where things should go. Get the keys and the list from him. If there are any questions, I'll be in the south wing.
As you will, milady.
Jessica turned away, thinking, Hawat may have passed this residency as safe, but there's something wrong about the place. I can feel it. An urgent need to see her son gripped Jessica. She began walking toward the arched doorway that led into the passage to the dining hall and the family wings. Faster and faster she walked until she was almost running. Behind her, Mapes paused in clearing the wrappings from the bull's head, looked at the retreating back.
She's the one, all right. Poor thing.
Yui, 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 goes the refrain. 1,000,000 deaths were not enough for Yui. From A Child's History of Muad'Dib by the Princess Irulan.
The door stood ajar, and Jessica stepped through into a room with yellow walls. To her left stretched a low settee of black hide and 2 empty bookcases, a hanging water flask with dust on its bulging sides. To her right, bracketing another door, stood more empty bookcases, a desk from Caladan, and 3 chairs. At the windows directly ahead of her stood Dr. Yue, his back to her, his attention fixed upon the outside world. Jessica took another silent step into the room. She saw that Yue's coat was wrinkled, a white smudge near the left elbow as though he had leaned against chalk. He looked from behind, like a fleshless stick figure in overlarge black clothing, a caricature poised for stringy movement at the direction of a puppet master. Only the squarish block of head, with long ebony hair caught in its silver Suk school ring at the shoulder, seemed alive, turning slightly to follow some movement outside. Again she glanced around the room, seeing no sign of her son, but the closed door on her right, she knew, led into a small bedroom for which Paul had expressed a liking.
Good afternoon, Dr. Yue. Where's Paul?
He nodded as though to something out the window, spoke in an absent manner without turning.
Your son grew tired, Jessica. I sent him into the next room to rest.
Abruptly he stiffened, whirled, with mustache flopping over his purpled lips.
Forgive me, my lady. My thoughts were far away. I did not mean to be familiar.
She smiled, held out her right hand. For a moment she was afraid he might kneel.
Wellington, please.
To use your name like that.
We've known each other 6 years. It's long past time formalities should have been dropped between us in private.
Yue ventured a thin smile, thinking, I believe it has worked. Now she'll think anything unusual in my manner is due to embarrassment. She'll not look for deeper reasons when she believes she already knows the answer.
I'm afraid I was wool gathering. Whenever I feel especially sorry for you, I'm afraid I think of you as, well, Jessica.
Sorry for me? Whatever for?
Yue shrugged. Long ago he had realized Jessica was not gifted with a full truth-say as his Wana had been. Still, he always used the truth with Jessica whenever possible. It was safest.
You've seen this place, my Jessica. So barren after Canada. And the people, those townswomen we passed on the way here, wailing beneath their veils, the way they looked at us.
She folded her arms across her breast, hugging herself, feeling the crysknife there, a blade ground from a sandworm's tooth, if the reports were right.
It's just that we're strange to them. Different people, different customs. They've known only the Harkonnens.
She looked past him out the windows.
What were you staring at?
The people. Jessica crossed to his side, looked to the left toward the front of the house where Yue's attention was focused. A line of 20 palm trees grew there. The ground beneath them swept clean, barren. A screen fence separated them from the road upon which robed people were passing. Jessica detected a faint shimmering in the air between her and the people, a house shield, and went on to study the passing throng, wondering why Yue found them so absorbing. The pattern emerged, and she put a hand to her cheek. The way the passing people looked at the palm trees. She saw envy, some hate, even a sense of hope. Each person raked those trees with a fixity of expression.
Do you know what they're thinking?
You profess to read minds?
Those minds. They look at those trees and they think, there are 100 of us. That's what they think.
Why?
Those are date palms. One date palm requires 40 liters of water a day. A man requires but 8 liters. A palm then equals 5 men. There are 20 palms out there, 100 men.
But some of those people look at the trees hopefully.
They but hope some dates will fall. Except it's the wrong season.
We look at this place with too critical an eye. There's hope as well as danger here. The spice could make us rich. With a fat treasury, we can make this world into whatever we wish.
And she laughed silently at herself. Who am I trying to convince? The laugh broke through her restraints, emerging brittle, without humor.
But you can't buy security.
Yui turned away to hide his face from her. If only it were possible to hate these people instead of love them. In her manner, in many ways, Jessica was like his Wana. Yet that thought carried its own rigors, hardening him to his purpose. The ways of the Harkonnen cruelty were devious. Wana might not be dead. He had to be certain.
Do not worry for us, Wellington. The problem's ours, not yours.
She thinks I worry for her. He blinked back tears. And I do, of course. But I must stand before that black baron with his deed accomplished, and take my one chance to strike him where he is weakest, in his gloating moment. He sighed.
Would it disturb Paul if I looked in on him?
Not at all. I gave him a sedative.
He's taking the change well.
Except for getting a bit overtired. He's excited. But what 15-year-old wouldn't be under these circumstances? He's in here.
He crossed to the door, opened it. Jessica followed, peered into a shadowy room. Paul lay on a narrow cot, one arm beneath a light cover, the other thrown back over his head. Slatted blinds at a window beside the bed wove a loom of shadows across face and blanket. Jessica stared at her son, seeing the oval shape of face so like her own. But the hair was the Duke's, coal-colored and tousled. Long lashes concealed the line-toned eyes. Jessica smiled, feeling her fears retreat. She was suddenly caught by the idea of genetic traces in her son's features, her lines in eyes and facial outline, but sharp touches of the father peering through that outline like maturity emerging from childhood. She thought of the boy's features as an exquisite distillation out of random patterns, endless hues of happenstance meeting at this nexus. The thought made her want to kneel beside the bed and take her son in her arms, but she was inhibited by Yui's presence. She stepped back, closed the door softly. Yui had returned to the window, unable to bear watching the way Jessica stared at her son. Why did Wana never give me children? He asked himself. I know as a doctor there was no physical reason against it. Was there some Bene Gesserit reason? Was she perhaps instructed to serve a different purpose? What could it have been? She loved me, certainly. For the first time he was caught up in the thought that he might be part of a pattern, more involuted and complicated than his mind could grasp. Jessica stopped beside him.
What delicious abandon in the sleep of a child.
If only adults could relax like that.
Yes.
She glanced at him, catching the odd tone, but her mind was still on Paul, thinking of the new rigors in his training here, thinking of the differences in his life now, so very different from the life they once had planned for him.
We do indeed lose something.
She glanced out to the right at a slope humped with a wind-troubled grey-green of bushes, dusty leaves, and dry claw branches. The too-dark sky hung over the slope like a blot, and the milky light of the Arakeen sun gave the scene a silver cast light, like the crysknife concealed in her bodice.
The sky is so dark.
That's partly the lack of moisture.
Water. Everywhere you turn here, you're involved with the lack of water.
It's the precious mystery of Arrakis.
Why is there so little of it? There's volcanic rock here. There are a dozen power sources I could name. There's polar ice. They say you can't drill in the desert. Storms and sand tides destroy equipment faster than it can be installed if the worms don't get you first. They've never found water traces there anyway. But the mystery, Wellington, the real mystery is the wells that have been drilled up here in the sinks and basins. Have you read about those?
First a trickle, then nothing.
But Wellington, that's the mystery. The water was there. It dries up and never again is there water. Yet another hole nearby produces the same result, a trickle that stops. Has no one ever been curious about this?
It is curious. You suspect some living agency? Wouldn't that have shown in core samples?
What would have shown? Alien plant matter? Or animal? Who could recognize it? The water is stopped. Something plugs it. That's my system.
All right, everyone. I'm going to call Inches Life for tonight. I want to thank everyone for stopping by. Everyone who keeps stopping by. I appreciate all y'all support. Till next time, everyone. Stay safe.